Hello, welcome to Tarot and Oracle for the Soul. We are welcoming Stephany back for Taurus season, and we're going to do things a little different this month. We are going to do like question and answers back and forth, both of us. So hopefully we get through all the questions. I'm going to start asking Stephany a question. Stephany, what inspired you to study and learn astrology?
So, first, thank you everyone who's tuning in and who's decided to come on back and hear what we have to say. I definitely appreciate that. And we thought that doing a back and forth would be, I guess, a little bit more engaging in terms of what inspired me to start studying astrology. We're talking many, 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 many years ago. But what inspired me to study astrology were the Greek gods and goddesses. Like I've always been into history. I've always been into reading. I've always been into understanding that there is more to life than our actual physical selves. And know that we are spiritual people having a human experience. And sometimes experiencing the humanistic side of life is heavy, and so when things happen for people, when miracles happen, nobody can explain them, not even science. And so I wanted to understand that explanation. I wanted to understand why science can't explain this or why someone else can't explain it to me. How is this person able to succeed despite all of the obstacles that they've been through? And I don't know if you know a lot of those people that succeed, but I don't know too many of those people. I mean, aside from the people on TV, we don't know them either. We just know them based on television, but personal spaces, I don't know many. And so whenever I run across one of those people, I'm curious to know. And they always say it's by the grace of someone else, by a higher power. So when I asked, well, how do you know? They said you just have to believe. Isn't that something that's crazy? When somebody says just believe. That's not really easy for a lot of people to do. And I know when I first started, it wasn't, I'm not going to say easy for me, but I did question some things. Like, I know that there's a book out there that people read and they follow and they go by on a day-to-day basis, but I was always curious to know who actually wrote the book. Because I never met the person that wrote a book. So I was always curious about that. And my curiosity led more into wanted to know the backstories of these people who got involved in this particular space of spirituality, of a higher power. I wanted to know more of that. And so that was what inspired me to actually study more and learn more about what it is that I'm doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so one of my questions that I have for you was how did you get into spirituality yourself? What was the catalyst that catapulted you basically into your spiritual space?
So I was raised in a Christian home, being raised in two different Christian faiths that a lot of people like to argue that are totally different, which they're not, totally the same. Just some changes, some tweaks. And I grew up being very angry at Christianity and the way that women were treated within that space. I went away to college and I studied a lot of world religions. That was a main focus that I really enjoyed. So I took classes like The Goddess in India and Beyond. I took a lot of classes just about Hinduism as well as Islam. And I tried to take one Bible study class and it just wasn't for me. Uh, had enough of that indoctrination growing up. So it was really interesting to also meet people from all around the world who had different cultural and religious backgrounds and beliefs, and really learning from them. And then graduating college and just hanging out with a diverse group of people who did things like read tarot cards and who uh, studied Reiki and did energy healing. And you know, none of us can escape this life without trauma. And unfortunately, with my astrological chart, I have a lot of trauma. It was built in the stars. So, for me, started as a healing journey. So I wanted to heal. And I went to this amazing therapist who used talk therapy, aromatherapy, energy healing, and prayer. And it was very holistic and it was very, very cool. And my minor was psychology in college. So I wanted to examine all of that. So I learned Reiki first, and my Reiki 2 teacher was actually an occultist. And so her class, you had to learn the Thoth Tarot and you had to learn the basics of the occult. So I learned about gemstones, crystal healing, energy work. We read books by Dion Fortune and Aleister Crowley, and we studied the Thoth Tarot as well as doing holding energy circles, Reiki circles, healing circles. So that is how I entered into this space was for my own healing because eventually I wanted to help people on their own healing journey and their own healing path. That was always a calling of mine. I was always interested in psychology. So I really love that tarot combines psychology, it combines uh, astrology. It combines art. I mean, it is artwork. It is beautiful. I love art. I love psychology. It takes all these things that I love, combines it, and it creates this really amazing, very powerful healing modality. So that is how I stepped onto the path, and that is why I'm still walking on that path, 15 plus years later.
Okay, so how do you balance that? I know we got to go back and forth, but I'm just so curious. How do you balance that with like your everyday job, like what you have to do for yourself to survive and pay bills? And how do you do that? Because I think a lot of people think that if you're a spiritual person, then you don't have to do any work because you automatically have access or you are closer to having that access. So how do you balance it or what do you do there?
To me, there is no separation between spirituality and everyday life. For me, being spiritual doesn't mean being perfect. Our lives are still sloppy. Our lives are still messy. We still have trials and tribulations. We're still acquiring more karma and, more traumas even. Living in the 3D world, I don't care how high you raise your frequency or how much you pray or meditate. If you live in this 3D world, uh, just existing can be traumatic, and especially if you're an empath. So learning to uh, shield your energy, learning to set healthy boundaries. So it is a combination of energy work and then also psychology. And I think it's important to balance that out. But you still have to work a day job. Through my 20s, when I was learning this after graduating college, I was working retail. I was working in the food industry. I was, through my 30s when we met working for the government. I mean, you went to school, you're doing this while you were working full time, going to school, you had a whole life. And so it's like going to church on Sundays, it's the same as for people who walk the typical Christian or Muslim or Hindu path where you still have to go to work. I mean, unless you're going to denounce everything and become a monk or a priest or a nun, you still have to work and you still have family and you still have obligations and you still have bills. So unless you're going to give that all up, and I mean, I've met some people some spiritual leaders who have given everything up and they make enough just to get to the next town and they just kind of work as like nomads and they're just going to the next town, the next town, the next town, and staying with people. And they really are living kind of like a priestly or a monk type life. The people I'm referring to that I met in Phoenix who did this, they were shamans. So that's what they did. They would just go. to whoever wanted to host them. They'd have a class, they'd stay with the host, and they got fed. So unless you're going to do that, I mean, you still have to have a job.
Wow, I didn't realize you knew some nomads here. That is insane. Wow. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know. Although I do have a dream or something, I guess it's on my bucket list to pray with the Buddhist monks in Thailand. So I do actually want to do that. Um,
That would be
wow.
amazing. That
Yeah,
would,
that's one of my goals to do because I do want to relocate overseas. So, and Thailand's definitely a place I am looking to relocate. So,
but you could do that, but would you denounce the world? Would you denounce worldly things, or would you just kind of go for like a month or two?
I don't know. Because I'm not really like a materialistic person anyways, but I do understand like there's things that we need to have in order to survive or live. I am from the country, so city doesn't bother me. I can be away from the city and I'll be just fine. I think it depends on how rural the area is. If I have my basic needs met and I'm content with that. It just really depends. Now, I do like, burgers and fries too. So I don't want to be so far removed and remote that I don't necessarily have the wants, the pleasures of life, I guess you could say. So I'm not sure. I think it really depends. That'll be my answer. I can't give a yes or no.
Right. Yeah, and it's a process. All spirituality is it's always evolving and changing because we're evolving and changing, and that's the whole point of life. And for me, spirituality is really about embodying and becoming more human. So I felt for me, and I'm not speaking for other people, but Christianity really like cut me off. It cut me off at the neck. And I left me feeling very numb and very disconnected from my heart and from my own personal power, especially as a woman. I felt very disempowered, disenchanted, and I really wanted to feel empowered. And that's what I really love about spirituality is it's about trusting your instincts, but it's also about being more human. And I feel that Christianity is all about like intellectualism or like thinking everything for some people, or it's all just lip service. There's a lot of hypocrisy. And with spirituality, it's really about you have to do the work. You have to do the internal work. You have to walk the walk, walk the talk, if that makes sense. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I went to church and I sat in church and I fell asleep, but I was there, so I'm this or that or whatever." With spirituality, it's interactive, and I really like that it forces people to take responsibility for their life, for their actions. And I do believe in fate and destiny, but I also believe that we have the choice. So for me, tarot cards and oracle cards are not about this is your fate because we're changing our fate and our destiny every day with every choice that we make. And we do have that power. So say we came into this life and we're like, okay, well, XYZ is going to happen. Well, okay, if you don't take any action in your life, XYZ will happen if you allow other people to dictate. But you reach a certain point in your life where you say, I don't want XYZ, and I made those contracts or whatever before I came to this planet, and I don't like that anymore. So I want to do ABC instead. So you make the plan, you plan it out mentally, you write it down. Writing it down makes it start to become physical. And then you envision it and you start taking steps. You take one step at a time. Okay, I want to become spiritual. What does that look like? I either want to study astrology, so I start reading books, or I want to learn tarot, so I start reading those books. Or who can teach me? And you find a mentor. You find people. For us, we're older, there wasn't really necessarily YouTube, But now you have YouTube. There's so many people you can just reach out to and classes online. So it's much easier now. You can just find anything or anyone, on YouTube and learn and start to learn. And then when you feel comfortable, if you're in a bigger city, reaching out and creating community. So let me ask you your next question, Stephany. How long did it take you from learning astrology for yourself to be able to apply astrology for other people?
So it took me a while to learn what I learn now. And that's the thing about astrology. Like it's a constant learning thing.
Mhm.
I'm a lifelong student of life. So numerology and astrology, they're just other instruments of life that I get to utilize as tools to interpret the energies, to understand the energies, understand how to play with the energies and move around the energies, what to do and what not to do. So as long as I've been studying astrology is as long as it took me to learn. Now, when it took me to learn it in regards to applying it to other people, that was actually easier. And the reason why it was easier is because I understand what the different signs mean, understand what the different houses mean, understand what the different numbers mean, 1 through 9. Like I get all those things, I understand it. But when it comes to applying it to a different person, I found it so fascinating that I'm speaking to a person who has a Mercury in Gemini. I found that to be so easy for me to understand because I have a Mercury in Gemini. So I will talk and I know how to talk. Um, More importantly, I know how to understand and listen. Listen is another form of communication. And I think people forget that part because in order to be a pretty decent communicator, you don't just talk, you also have to actively listen. And a lot of people forget that part. They forget that. I know I did in my early 20s, and I thought I was a great communicator until I really started actively listening. And then that's when things changed. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm not as skilled of a communicator as I thought. So I just found it very fascinating that another person has a Mercury and Gemini, or they have a Mercury in Sagittarius, which, oh my gosh. The philosophers of the zodiac sign, they can be pretty dogmatic at times. So I just found it fascinating. And when you like something and you find something fascinating, then you're going to dive deeper into it. And I even learned the quincunxes, which means signs that are the polar opposite. They have nothing in common, such as a Sagittarius and a Cancer. Those two signs don't have anything. They are technically quincunxes, but they could learn from each other if they could both find a commonality amongst the two and actually take the time to listen and grow and understand who they are individually through that other sign perspective. There's a lot of magic that can happen. So, and I'm still learning even now about people. So I can't say for certain that I've that it, that I haven't stopped learning. Like I have to continue to learn. I'm continuing to educate myself on astrology and other people's signs because right now we're in a whole new era where no astrologist has been before, unless you're like 102 and um you believe in astrology and you believe in the stars and you're understanding this type of conversation that's happening all over, social media platforms, then yeah. But aside from that, none of us have gone through what we're all going to go through. Maybe with the exception, maybe the water signs, because we are already super intuitive. And so the water signs have a way of picking up energies like this. They have a way of doing it. And that's a big maybe in this particular moment in time. But that will be my answers to the question.
So I actually have a follow-up question. I have a friend who uh, is really big into astrology, and she believes that astrology is just like a roadmap. But just like with tarot, where we could potentially have, our fate um, mapped out, she believes that our stars may be mapped out, but if we understand our astrological sign, we can break free from that and transcend that and become something different or like a better version of whatever that astrological sign is. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that she has a point there, because we can. So our North Node is our destiny today. Our South Node is our our South Node are, what's the term? Skills, behavior traits, and patterns that we've already mastered in a previous life that is with us in this life. And so your North Node is where you're supposed to be going. That's your purpose. That's how you get to your purpose. And so I believe your friend does have a point because you don't always have to be a particular way. You can grow, you can learn, you can develop in life. And
Right.
as you grow, you learn and develop in life, naturally, your North Node purpose is going to come out of you, or you are going to be triggered into creating something that is that is in alignment with your North Node, with the learning, the development, and the growing that you've already obtained. But it's up to us as individuals to do that. We still have free will. And depending on who you speak with, many astrologers or other individuals will say, well, you know what? We've come into this world knowing what we're going to do. We've come into this world knowing that this is the life that we're going to live because we chose it before we got here. However, there is one contract we did not choose getting here, and that is your vortex. Your vortex has a sign, and that is a contract you did not know you entered into coming into this life. And that vortex is usually somewhere around the love. I can't remember for the life of me how they're connected, but it's usually something to that degree. That's the one thing you didn't, and that's the zodiac sign. And you could just Google how to find my vortex, and it'll give you all the information you want to. It'll ask you to fill in the slots for a specific spot, and it'll give you the degree and the zodiac sign that is the vortex. That's the one contract you didn't come in with. So that's a challenge too that people have to learn how to overcome. So yes, I do agree with your friend in regards to you don't have to be tied to that because you don't. Your natal chart is a roadmap of who you are. It's a makeup of who you are. I mean, there's business natal charts, which is the makeup of your business. You can utilize the energies and the numbers and the signs and the atmosphere to help manipulate money streams to come into your vicinity. You can manipulate the markets. You can manipulate, and not in a bad way, but even in a beneficial way, in a productive way. You can manipulate different things to help your business grow.
We had a really good question in the comments in the last video about what were some good astrology books for beginners. And so I wanted to ask you that now. Like, what would you recommend? I know you said to start out with just learning the different the 12 zodiacs of the astrology and then applying that. But do you have any specific books?
Honestly, I don't have any specific books off the top of my head. And the reason why is because it's important that you learn your specific zodiac sign before you get to learning all 12 zodiac signs. Learn about your specific sign first and be open to accepting, because this is the part where it's important. Be open to accepting the fact that, yeah, you do have these behavior traits, you do have these character traits, you do demonstrate this type of behavior in this particular setting. You may not do it every single day, but you will in this particular moment in time or in this particular setting. So I think it's important that people really understand their zodiac sign first. Do that before you decide to go off into the deep end of the other 12 zodiac signs, because it is really a deep end and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. It's just deep like that. So know your zodiac sign first and then look for beginner books, zodiac signs for beginners. So you can understand the different zodiac signs, the houses, the planets, what the planets mean, what the houses mean, what the quincunxes mean, what do the aspects, the T squares, what do they all mean? I'd start with that. Those are what I would start with. I would understand my own zodiac sign first, like the back of my hand, and then I would look for books that are astrology for beginners.
All right. So you don't have a specific author that you recommend over anybody else?
I do not. I don't because spirituality is a plethora of discovery. We could discover whatever we want to. So I wouldn't limit to just one particular author or one particular book. I would spread my knowledge around. I would go and grab multiple books by different people as it relates to astrology because you're going to understand different perspectives. And then if you know what their astrology sign is, then you can really understand how they got to the point that they got to. Especially if you know what their Mercury is, you can understand their thinking. So study the planets as well. So that's what I would say to that.
Okay, cool. What energies are coming in for Taurus season? And I just want to say happy birthday, Tauruses. Happy birthday. And I forgot to say it last month. So happy belated birthday to Aries.
Oh my goodness, yes. Happy birthdays to those stubborn ass Tauruses. Okay. So I will say there is a new moon in Taurus happening. This is happening April 27th. It is going to be around 12:32 Pacific time, I believe. This new moon in Taurus is a doozy one. You also have Mars meets Pluto as well. So, and we're in Taurus season. So with this, when Mars meets Pluto, Mars is energy. It is Aries, right? War. What I will say, when Mars meets Pluto, Mars, planet of energy, Pluto, the planet of deep transformation. And remember that Pluto is in Aquarius for the next 20 years. This is like a pressure cooker. So that means if you can avoid conflict, please avoid conflict. Stay out of the way, stay in the house. Um, do not, yeah, stay out of the way, stay in the house. Do not get into a verbal altercation. Do not get into a verbal argument. Do not get into any form of conflict because it will come back to bite you later. It will do that. You may not know when, we may not know where, but it will definitely come back to bite you later. When we're talking about Taurus season, and we're talking about the energies in the atmosphere, this new moon that's in Taurus, it's going to happen April 27th, and Mars meeting Pluto. Understand that there is a lot of deep transformation happening. And Mars is energy. It is whatever zodiac sign you have in the planet of Mars is how you demonstrate your energy, anyways. So be mindful, stay out the way. Don't go outside. Stay inside. Do not get into any arguments. Let it pass. Let it blow over. It's just, this is where you have to be the bigger person. And I know some people are like, I don't want to be the bigger person. I don't blame you. I'm usually not the bigger person either. So I get it. But in this particular case, you need to be the bigger person.
Is this just, how long is this for? This isn't for the next 20 years.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
This is just this new moon that's happening in Taurus, April 27th. And of course, energy still is like residue. It'll probably linger around a little bit, but not as heavy or as intensely like a Mercury retrograde would. But still, understand that there are going to be energies in the air. You're going to be a little, maybe more short-tempered than you usually are. Just don't get into any arguments. Don't go outside. Stay, it's expensive anyways. Don't go outside. So I would do that because whatever choice you choose to make, it will impact you later on down the road. You may not know how, you may not know when, but it will impact you later on down the road, and especially in business, you don't want to do it. Now, as far as love and Taurus, um, the planet Venus is a feminine planet, and Taurus is actually ruled, is one of its rulers. Taurus and Libra is one of its rulers of this feminine planet. Taurus is earth. You're planting your seeds. Whatever seeds you planted, they're growing now because we're in the earthy season. I think for those fixed signs like the Taurus, the Leo, the Scorpios, the Aquarius, they're definitely going to feel that new moon and they're definitely going to feel this season for Taurus season. But I would also say to other signs like Cancers or the Pisces and a few other ones in there, be careful with who you choose to let in your space right now, because you're building something. Taurus is a builder. They're the bull. They build and they're very money. Okay. Money. They do like the finer things in life. They have no problem with the dressing up. Have you ever seen a Taurus? They may come off very humble. They may do a humble brag, but don't let them people fool you. Oh, no, 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 no. They definitely likes the coins. They are all about those coins and their stability. So they sustain shit. Definitely about stability and stubbornness. Just if you guys don't know by now that Taurus people are super stubborn, eh, then F around and find out. I mean, because I just know when somebody says they're a Taurus, whatever issue I needed to talk to you about, I'll see you next year about it because I'm not even going through the motions. I'm really not. So, um, love is it's good for this season. Just take it easy, take it slow, don't rush into it. Now, with the Venus retrograde that's already passed and gone, we're out of the retrogrades for a while. We're out of the retrogrades, but there's a lot of breakups still happening too. Because before Pluto moved into Aquarius, Pluto was in Capricorn, where it was very much wife at home. Man goes out, get the bacon, brings it home. That type of life. That was really a thing. But then Pluto moved out into Aquarius, where Aquarius is like, I want to break free. That song literally came to mind right now. I don't know why. But we all love Queen. Y'all stop playing. Anyhow, so yes, Aquarius is like, yeah, we coming out. We coming outside. Rip me out the plastic. They acting brand new. So they coming out. That's the energies now. So there's still a lot of breakups happening, and there's a lot of people who want to benefit from this energy, and you can, but be mindful of your steps, be mindful of your intentions. Are you intentional about what it is that you're doing and you don't want to do? So that is the best advice I can give at this moment in time as it relates to love matters in Taurus. Be mindful of the time. Be mindful of your self values. And if you can't find the type of love that you are looking for out there, then give that love to yourself because you deserve it too. That's what I would say.
So you said Pluto is in Aquarius for the next 20 years. And it's all about freedom and expansion because that's what Pluto and Aquarius is about expansion and about growth. And so it's really interesting. And I know you may not want to answer this question, but how do you see these plans to keep people back in the way things used to be playing out on the political stage when astrologically it's all about growth and freedom? So, how is this just like a last ditch effort to try to keep people in the little boxes? And it's not going to work, obviously, because the astrology isn't supporting that. So, do you want to comment?
Oh man. So our legal system, that's the one thing, political arena is the slowest moving piece in a humanistic world. They move very slow, but it does not mean that they are out of the change loop. You guys, when I say you guys, what I mean is the political arena itself, political arena does not get to sit out of change. They have to change too. And the thing about change is that many people don't like it because it's new, it's fresh, and a lot of people are resistant to it. Now you get two people that may be resistant to change, change is going to happen. They'll accept it. You get six people to, resist change, they're going to accept it. Now you get 20 people, they're going to cause some resistance. You get 500 and something people or 495 people, however many political individuals we have in our political arena, congressmen and women and individuals, councilmen and women, different cities, counties, states, whatever. You get all those people who don't want to change. Change will move slow. It will move slow because it has no choice. But because of the spiritual aspect of things, change is going to happen regardless if they're ready for it or not. That's the thing about change. It happens to us by choice or force. And if it happens to us by force, then we're going to be hurt in the process. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are hurt right now in this process. And this is just the beginning. We haven't seen anything yet. I tell people wait till Aquarius, because Aquarius, even though it's in Pluto for the next 20 years, is going to bounce back and forth between a couple of its familiar planets. So it's going to do that. I'd say probably year 5 into Pluto being into Aquarius, it's going to be a completely different world. Completely different world. We're not going to understand some things. But I will say, um, things in order for new things to happen, we have to do away with the old. We have to. That's the only way something new can come about and it's going to be beneficial. Now, will it be beneficial to everybody? Probably not, because not everybody wants to. Not everybody wants that change. Not everybody wants to be a part of the change. And I get it. I mean, I don't want to change my car because I have no car payment, but I might have to get a new car here soon because I have
Yeah.
to have a new car payment. That's changed. Now, that's a subtle change as it relates to the political arena, but even the political scene has changed. We see how outspoken everybody else is. We see how outspoken different congressmen and congresswomen are about anything. Some things that we would think that would be human or like, you know what? I think no, people are like really showing who they've always been. And I don't understand why individuals are confused by that because people show you who they are. It's up to us whether we choose to believe it or not. I don't know if that answers the question because I try to stay away from political, only because of my background. But I will tell you, there's politicians who consult astrologers. I can tell you that. There's a lot of people who do believe, and I've actually had meetings with several businessmen and women just these last 2 days, and they were asking me, Stephanie, put some stuff on your professional sites so we can look at it and we can go to it. So there's a strong belief of this, but there's also a strong disbelief that it's happening to them. You know what I mean? So whenever we think, I can't believe this is happening, but I can't believe it's happening to me. Well, who are you? Who would you expect it to happen to?
Well, political people are used to having power. So it goes with that. They don't believe in destiny, right? They believe that they are the purveyors of their reality. So they may kind of put some stock in astrology or tarot or the spirituality or even religion. But when it comes down to it, they think that in some ways that they are gods, right? Like, oh, well, nobody can tell me what to do. Nobody can do, I hold the power. I hold power. I make things happen. I make my life happen. And look, I'm in charge of policies and laws and rules, and nobody's going to tell me we see that right now, at the highest levels. And their life in this physical realm, that's yes. However, there is still, like you said, there is still divine law and there is still things that we can't escape. So the way that I try to tell myself to not get too like caught up in the details is that these issues have been around since the beginning of the founding of our country, and it's like a zig. It's coming to the top and it needs to be popped so we can heal it and we can clear it up. And we're in the like part where it's all gross right now. Like we're not even into the healing yet. I think maybe in a few years we'll get to that healing and then we can clear it up. But right
Yeah,
now,
maybe. Maybe in a few years. There's still a fight left. There's still a fight left because a lot of people don't want to change.
yeah.
And a lot of people aren't ready for the change. Or have you ever met someone that is okay with change as long as it's not going to change their things. I think a lot of people are seeing that now, even experiencing that because they're surprised. A lot of us aren't surprised, but to each his own. Um, yeah, we're not.
And I'm
We
over
haven't even
here
got anywhere.
jonesing for change. Like, hurry up. Like, I've been waiting for this for 25 years. Like, let's go. I'm done. I'm tired. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think we all have to we have to worry about ourselves. Like, are the choices that we're making, is it beneficial for our life, like self-care wise? Is it beneficial for the people that we love? The choices and decisions that we're making, is it with intention? Or are we just blowing smoke out of our ass? Are we just pulling shit from thin air and just saying, hey, whatever sticks on the wall is going to stick and it's going to stay there? No, we have to be very intentional about the choices that we make, the decisions that we do, because whatever you do is going to impact you. And especially with this new moon coming up, you do not want to play, you don't want to F around and find out here because it will come back for you later. So, there's a lot of boldness too that's going to be happening, a lot of that boldness and change. I keep thinking change is the one thing that remains constant, and yet people are so surprised when it happens to them. We're here to change, whether we like it or not, whether we're ready for it or not. It's here. I know myself personally, I've experienced so much change. It is not even funny. And I am in year one of numerology, whereas many people are in year nine universally. We're all in year nine. This is the year of completion. So, yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, definitely.
As a tarot card reader, what challenges do you face or what challenges have you faced?
So, whenever you do tarot card readings, I can't speak for astrology, but I know for myself, there's a lot of imposter syndrome. But you can't have imposter syndrome, or if you do, don't let anyone know. If you're giving a reading, don't let anyone sense even a whiff of, hesitation, doubt. Like, you have to come across as very strong and confident because as a reader, if your current senses any of that hesitation or doubt or anything like that, they are going to jump on it because people already, when you get a tarot reading, it's very psychologically, you bare your soul, you bare your the things that you think are hidden. And a lot of times they're even hidden to themselves. And it may be things that come up that they don't want to look at in their life. They may know, like they have an inkling, but it's just too raw. It's just too bare. It's just too in their face. Like they see it on the card and they're like, no, 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 no. Like I'm not ready to deal with that yet. I'm not ready to face that. So a lot of times, and like I said, you have to like kind of stick to your guns and not hesitate because often they'll come back and say, you were correct. You were right because it takes time to process. So this is why it's really important when you get a tarot reading or even an astrology reading is to do it alone because there is a lot of healing that takes place because if you are willing to look at it, and you're like admit it and it's not always bad, right? It's not always bad, but there's always a lot of emotions. Um Sometimes there's crying, sometimes there's laughter, sometimes there's, you know, and I mean, me personally, I would rather process my emotions like one-on-one and not necessarily have other people around. It's very exposing. And so if you're not willing to look at yourself or be looked at or have someone else see you, like really truly see you on a very deeply psychological and spiritual level, don't get a tarot reading, don't get an astrology reading because it can potentially bring up issues that you may not be ready to face. So like I remember I was like early 20s and I went and got an astrology reading. And I remember the astrologer telling me something, and I'm like, no, that's not true. Like, no, that's, gaslighting her because I wasn't ready. I had been gaslit my whole life. So I couldn't believe it or face it, or because it totally crumbled my worldview. It totally crumbled my belief about myself, about my reality, about my childhood, my family, everything. And I'm like, no, no. But then taking time and going through the healing process, like, oh, she was right. So be prepared if you are a tarot reader and giving other people tarot readings, or an astrology reader or any kind of healer, whether it be energy. I remember a time I was doing Reiki on we were at a Reiki circle, and the person on the table just started convulsing. And it was the scariest thing for me. Luckily, I had other healers around, and they're like, well, just keep going, just keep going. And I've had that happen myself on the table getting acupuncture, where you just start shaking. It's just such a huge release of energy, of all this buildup. And you just have to like write it out to release it. If you stop in the middle, like you have to get the emotions and the energy out.
Yeah. Okay.
So you know what I mean? Like it can happen and
Yeah, I
energy go down.
do.
So you have to just be prepared on both sides. Like you could have this huge emotional, with tarot or astrology, it could be tears. With energy work like acupuncture, Reiki, or any other healing modality, it could be physically like shaking or tears as well, or coughing, or uh or passing gas. There's all these releases, and
Yeah.
sometimes that embarrasses people, and you just have to know that as the reader, that's natural, and as the curant or the person receiving these things, it's natural and it happens.
I'm glad that you gave that tidbit because I don't think a lot of people really understand the purpose of card readings. It's like they're looking for the exact answer, and you're never going to get the exact answer whenever you're doing anything in spirit. Even for us that do practice spirit, we will never get the exact yes or no answer. We're never going to get that. We're going to get signs, and it's up to us to pay attention to those signs. We're going to get, and sometimes those signs come through people. They don't necessarily have to come on a billboard.
Right.
They come through people. So this is very important for people to understand that we will never have the yes or no, but we will gain the answer. We'll get what we need or what we're supposed to know. So thank you for giving that out because I think a lot of people don't know that you don't get a yes or no.
Well, and like, or details, like specific details, like dates, times, locations, everything is very general. And also, I feel like people they go for readings or astrology, and they think it's kind of like woo woo, or it's just going to be fun. It's all fun and games, or they just want to be told the like light and fluffy stuff. But I mean, I can't speak for other readers, but for me, it's not light and fluffy. The cards are what the cards are. If you're in a great place psychologically, spiritually in your life, it can be a great reading. However, most of us are constantly working through things, issues. And most people, like I know when I want to go get a reading or I want to go speak to an astrologer, is because I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling like, what's my next step? What do I do next? So that is going to come up in the reading, that kind of like that lost or that stuck energy. I mean, that's why you go to an energy healer or an acupuncturist or get Reiki, because you're feeling stagnant and you're like, I need to release some stuff. And we can do that on our own, by taking salt baths, by, intention, by going outside and grounding and giving that, releasing it to the earth. But there is just something about having a facilitator to support you. And I feel like it's almost like that question, does a tree really fall if no one's there to watch it? I feel like as human beings, we really want somebody there to be witness. And sometimes as like an astrologer or tarot reader or a healer, our job is really just to facilitate, but to watch, to bear witness to this individual's purpose or life, or, and to offer support and let people know that they're not alone. They have their spiritual team, they've got their ancestors. If you believe in that, you've got your, st the stars and astrology. There's healers, there's people who are there to support, and that we're not alone. Um, And then, sometimes the biggest healing we need is to just go out and dance or, have fun with our friends.
Yes, that is also a form of therapy as well. Something I need to do myself. But
Yeah,
yes.
it's not all like this is something that came to me. I went to a shamanic Reiki retreat, and everyone was like so serious. And it's like, we're at a shaman retreat. It's about like dancing and community and drumming. And I went on this vision, and I'm in the, on the beach dancing and singing, and my message was to the person I was with, was who was stuck literally in the mud. She was in the muck. Is It's a choice you to choose to stay in the muck. We all have muck in our lives. So you choose to stay in the muck, or you can rise above it and say, okay, the muck happened, but I'm not going to live my life in the muck. It's a choice. So Reiki, tarot, astrology can say, okay, you were dealt this hand or these stars, and now it's up to you. What are you going to do with what you were dealt? How are you going to overcome it? How are you going to meet your goals? We don't all have to stay in the same place where we started. And so that's why I love spirituality, because a lot of times, at least for me, and being raised in a religion, you're told this is where you're born and this is where you stay. But with spirituality, it's this is where you were born, but this is where you can go.
And see, I feel like I got the best of both worlds. I was raised in religion and I was also raised in spirituality. So I got the best of both worlds. But for those, whoever you choose to pray to speak with, the higher power, whatever your
Right.
choice is, utilize it. Utilize it. I think people forget that they can utilize their faith-based system, whatever it may be for you all. If it works for you, it works for you. What works for me and Sarah doesn't necessarily work for everybody else. But we have a faith-based system that we utilize often. I go to all the time. So do the same. That would be a suggestion I would give to others is utilize your faith-based system. Go to it when you have nobody else to talk to. They listen. I promise you that they will listen, even to the things you don't say verbally, the things you say in your mind. It's being recorded too. So I would say that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beautiful, like, I think that's awesome that you got the best of both worlds. And that's why I said for me, because I know that there's plenty of people who were raised that way and got the best of both worlds and were really empowered. And a lot of people who are really empowered within whatever religion it is that they were raised in. But then there's other people who, there is no empowerment and there is no spiritual side of that. So we go look elsewhere. But you're right, it doesn't matter. It's all about your own faith and your own beliefs. And standing within that and like having faith. Faith is what it comes down to. So, thank you, Stephanie. Was there anything else you wanted to add about the energies of Taurus season?
I don't think I have any other energies or information I want to add about Taurus season. I don't know when the next time I'll come back and talk to you guys, but just stay vigilant out there. Whatever love you're looking for in other people, give that love to yourself. And honestly, if you gotta look for love, you're not gonna find it. Love finds you. If anything, love will find you. Stability, have that stable ground put together, and money. Because remember, Taurus is a money sign. They are really about those coins. Your money, you guys are going to be looking at your money differently too. Taurus people do great in Taurus season. Let's just keep that all the way real. They do wonderful in Taurus season. But for those who have, like, I don't know, a Gemini in the second house or third house or something, because those could be money houses, may be a little more freer with how you spend your dollars. So I would just caution everybody with spending or overspending, and make some sound investments in yourself. This should be really a good work on your own self-love. That would be best for Taurus season. Self-love.
I feel like that's beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie. Self-love is in season every season, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
It's always about the self-love. And I just have an announcement to make. So if anyone's in Roswell, I'm going to be starting to give um tarot readings, tarot and oracle readings at Alien Enchantments on Fridays from noon to 4, uh, starting May 9th. So if anyone wants to come say hi and get a reading from me, I look forward to it. And it's $15 for 15 minutes or $30 for 30 minutes. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Stephanie. And like you said, not sure when we're gonna see you again, but you know, thank you so much for your time. And everyone take care and we'll see you sometime.